Are you comfortable being by yourself, being alone? Is it something you're fully comfortable with? Or is it something when you even think about it, it kind of evokes anxiety, it stresses you out? Well, today I'm going to look at how significant it is for us to be comfortable being by ourselves, having time alone, and how it has a connection to our self-image, our mindset, our outlook in life, along with relationships and decisions we make. And it's something we don't really talk about a whole lot, but it's something when we have one of us for the rest of our lives, having time to be alone. And are you comfortable with that? It's kind of a simple question that has a lot of layers to it. So as we jump in today, I'm excited you're here and talking about different facets that connect to the aspect of being comfortable, being alone. So the first thing we're going to look at today is the aspect of being alone, not lonely. And sometimes we can kind of misconstrue those two things. So this is where it's an inaccurate view, where when we hear being alone, it means we're lonely. The reality is, and I don't know if you've ever experienced this, I have, you can be in a sea of people. You can be with 20 people, 500 people, and still feel lonely. And this is where being alone and being lonely are two separate things. And sometimes we can get those really misconstrued and thinking when we hear alone, thinking lonely. And that is absolutely not the case. And this is where our perception of things, our mindset come in. That's really important. That being alone is something at times that we all need to experience, and something that has to be ongoing, whether you live by yourself or you live with 8 people, you work by yourself or you work with 150 people. The aspect of being comfortable and having and allotting for time by yourselves is astronomically significant. Absolutely. And how so many of us have this wiring in our minds that's kind of been put in there by society and a culture, that when you're alone, it kind of has this negative connotation to it, which is weird and absolutely kind of has a bearing of why so many people can be kind of unhealthy, where, oh my gosh, I don't know how to be by myself. I don't know how to be silent. I don't know how to be kind of alone with my thoughts. And this can get us in this kind of very complicated layer self, where we're just relying on noise, or we're relying on filler, or the need for other people at all times. And if you're in that place, this is kind of a red flag. This is the worst thing in the world. But okay, it's time to realign a little bit and having a game plan and saying, okay, I actually need time where I'm alone with my thoughts and myself. And that's not a negative. It doesn't mean I'm lonely. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with me. It's actually pursuing that is a healthy thing. It's absolutely a healthy thing. And the reality is the ability to be comfortable doing things, thinking in a state where we're by ourselves is healthy. Now, this can be easier for someone who is an introvert, we'll say, than an extrovert, or somebody who is, accustomed to kind of doing their own thing, whether work-wise, personally. But the reality is it's kind of figuring out where your comfort zone is when it comes to you, the times of the day or the week, or parts of the year that this really is a fit for you. But it's questioning, how are you in terms of being with your own thoughts? How are you with having time for yourself? And you could say, that's overwhelming and anxiety provoking. Okay, so how do we jumpstart this? How do we get ourselves to a place that it's saying, okay, I'm going to take this step? Because there's some of us that actually, and I've been there before, that we can have a sense of guilt when we take time for ourselves, or when we think, I am being by myself. Right? Well, that's selfish. I don't have time for that. All these other things I have to do. And that's part of the issues that's connected to our heightened anxiety and kind of feeling like we're on call all the time. That when it comes to the fact of actually being by ourselves, even if it's in the car, we're on the train, we're on the bus, we're going for a run, our minds are occupied with, what should I be doing? And this is where thought stopping really comes into play. If I'm stopping this, and this takes time and practice and patience, of I'm going to learn to just, whether it's have a clear mind, and man, that could be a struggle, to just thinking positive things, or what am I going to do for myself, or where am I right now? Living in the present can be really hard, especially when it comes to us just self-containing our own thoughts and saying that I need time by myself. I need time to slow my thought, and being alone is a positive. Now, being alone constantly it can be a negative, right? So with everything, it's finding a balance. Everything in life is a balance. It absolutely is. It's this pursuit of, okay, I'm not supposed to be by myself all the time, but being around people all the time, or noise, because the truth is that balance is just important. The truth being that we can have people in our lives, and we can say, okay, I'm going to set time aside to be by myself. I'm going to say that with air quotes, and we end up really not being by ourselves because we end up distracting ourselves. And because we're uncomfortable, well, I spent, 3 hours doing this and I was by myself. But were you using it to recharge, or were you distracted? Were you diluting that time with text, scrolling through social media with things that actually trigger anxiety and have you questioning, your self-worth? And it's really easy if you kind of take that apart a little bit to think, oh my gosh, I actually wasn't taking time for myself. I was super distracted. And this is where taking that time is important, and setting those distractions aside. Setting them aside. And what you need to know, this takes discipline. This takes time. Don't beat yourself up when it's not an immediate thing, because it's not going to be immediate. If we're used to, right, you're like, I'm going to go chill out in my bedroom. I'm going to just relax, be by myself. I'm going to go sit on the couch. I'm going to go sit in the backyard in the hammock. And then you're just lost and kind of saturated in distraction. You haven't been recharged. And this is really a pursuit. It really is. It's a journey. And this leads us to the second aspect of looking at game plan. Having a game plan, because if we don't have a game plan, it's not going to happen. Because many of us, it's like this time of being by myself, we're really accustomed just think about what we should be doing. Maybe we didn't do, did Susie get her lunch for school? Or did I finish this project with work? Blah, 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 blah. And we're not alone with our present. We're not alone with our just us. And that is, I think, the case for many, many of us that we struggle with. It's like this tug of war with ourselves, but you should be doing this, and you should be doing this, and you should. And then it's like, I just need time for myself. And that isn't guilt connected. And this is where a game plan is important. So my question for you is, what does that game plan look like? What the heck does it look like? It has to be tailored to you. It's writing it down and saying, okay, what's fair and what works for me? It's looking at positive outlets that allow kind of like set the framework for you making this happen. Where's something that brings you joy, whether it's sitting outside in your hammock for 15 minutes a few times a week, whatever, use your imagination, and then meeting yourself there. That's really step one when it comes to the aspect of having a game plan. Taking a few minutes when it comes to the aspect of your day where we're kind of cutting out distractions. And this can be a fight internally where it's like not having the radio on, not having the phone on, no texting, no social media, no outside noise. And you're like, that's impossible. Just find, like, even if it's 2.5 minutes, it's easy to really kind of trick ourselves to think that we're actually not triggering noise, right? And yes, there's noise around us, but there's ways of creativity of shutting some of that off where it doesn't become this tug of war distraction. And I know this is kind of heavy, but this is important when it comes to that pursuit, how to make it happen, that it's time with myself, having a game plan and taking time, whatever it is, it's meeting yourself there and beginning to kind of get a groove going and making it a habit that eventually becomes really part of your lifestyle. And that's the ultimate gain here. That's the ultimate intention of making it not just once in a while I'm taking time to be alone. It's got to be something that really evolves into a lifestyle. And you got to fight for it and remind yourself, man, you're worth it. You are worth that pursuit to learn to be comfortable with you, because there's literally never been a you before. There's never been a you now, and there'll never be the same exact you again. It's not going to happen. So value yourself. Take time for you. Life, man, and I've said it again and again, it's fleeting. We can get so distracted, and so many of us really are points in our lives where like, I am so used to having noise and static and people, and even when I'm by myself, just filler noise, that I'm not comfortable with me. And it's not too late as long as you're living. Boom, it's not too late. And this gets to learning who you are. Learning who you are. There is truly an art when it comes to being comfortable and pursuing time alone with ourselves, being comfortable with learning who we are. And we could say, well, that's kind of silly, but is it? Like, you take time, right, when it comes to a relationship, in learning about somebody. How much do we really know about ourselves? Well, I'm with me all the time, but do you really know yourself? And that's a valid question. Sometimes we could get interests and hobbies and dislikes, even careers, because it's been influenced by other people, and we think what they want or they don't want. And then at some point we could get muddled and confused and a little misdirected. Oh my gosh, who am I really? What do I really like? What is really what makes me tick? The good, the bad, the in-between. And it's about getting excited about learning who you are, what you like to read, what kind of vacations you like to go on, what are your hobbies, like, figure it out. And that's exciting. It's not like, oh my gosh, I missed out on so much time. No, you're not dead. You're not dead. Boom, pulse is going. Learn about yourself. Learn about yourself. You deserve to take time to know you, to begin to be comfortable with time alone. It's not a negative, it's a beautiful thing. And knowing that there's so many out there that can just feel lonely in a sea of people, or sitting by themselves in a coffee shop. The past year and a half have been a really tough, lonely time for a heck of a lot of people. It's tough. And there's certain things we can change and others we can't. We can make a change and begin growing and becoming healthier, stronger emotionally. When it comes to us, that is something we can control, and get stoked, excited about that. We can get easily looking at kind of the negatives and where, like, man, I faltered or I missed out. Stop the train and look at the positives. I get to figure out or learn things. Maybe I've had all this stuff going on for all these years, or I've been distracted. Time for Project Me. Time to take time for myself. Time to get excited about the life I've been given, because it's a gift, right? It is a gift, and there's nothing as beautiful as that gift that you've been given of life. Breathe in, my friends. Sometimes we forget to even breathe. Sometimes we let moments slip down from, driving in a car and not having the windows cracked a little bit and breathing fresh air, or watching the seasons change, or just catching up with a friend that you have maybe even talked to in a while. Life is right here, right now. Make sure that you're taking time to live it, and it starts with you. And as you're on your journey, I'm excited to be able to kind of rock this out with you. And I want you to know, I'd love for you to check out this video. If this is something that you're like, I'm on this journey, I'm on this train, I'm on this pursuit, check it out. Be sure to subscribe to the Goodness Chick channel. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, wishing you a tremendous amount of peace, love, and goodness, my friends.